Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Biome podcast, a space for nurturing the ecosystem of business, body, and living. What would it be like if you gave your body a leadership role in your business and chose greater happiness every day? These are the conditions that create a healthy biome and a thriving business. I'm your host, Heather Nichols, and I'm so happy you're here. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Biome podcast. It's Heather Nichols here, and let's play. We're going to play this week with neurodiversity, more on my little mini series here about neurodiversity and the beauty, the capacities, the brilliance of those that are neurologically different and just different. And when it comes to business and creation, and specifically, I want to dive a little bit into ADD and ADHD. And maybe we'll go into a little bit around OCD as well, but we will see where we go because I am ADD and ADHD. So I never know where I'm going to go. And that is actually part of the brilliance of people who are different and do have more of an ADD, ADHD brain capacity and brain function is that linearity is not really a thing. There's a lot of information when you have ADHD, ADD, brain capacity, brain difference. You receive a lot of information really fast, kind of all at once, very dynamically, kind of coming at you. It feels like sometimes like it's coming at you from all directions. Our brains move a lot faster than our mouths. Our brains move faster than we can, move our bodies a lot of times, like actualize things in physical world and physical reality. And that can feel very debilitating at times for people that have that much speed, that function from that much speed, because there's so much going on. There's so much going on. And this, for me, the X-Men conversation, the conversation of neurodivergence and the neurodiverse creature, person, entrepreneur, it's all like ADD, ADHD, OCD, autistic brain capacities and tendencies. They all kind of like play together because you're like people with those capacities tend to be very aware of lots of things, lots of people. Like you could be aware of the whole planet. You could be aware of everybody on the planet. It's a gift of awareness and energetic capacities and energetic function that we're just not taught to function from. It's made wrong from a very early age, and it's diagnosed and medicated from a very early age. And then it's just seen as like this thing that you have to deal with and you have to handle instead of actually something that is such a gift and actually puts you at a very dynamic, creative advantage in the world and actually in the world of business and entrepreneurship. So let's dive into, what is all of that? Like, how can you use it to your advantage? And I guess the first thing I would say is that one of the very first things that started to change for me, first of all, I had to even just see from the get-go that I was different. Like I didn't realize that I was different. I didn't realize my brain worked in a different way. I didn't realize how fast I was, how aware I was, how much like energetic presence I had with everything. And that there was always like big chunks of information coming into my world on an energetic level that I could never possibly cognitize, put into words, linearize, organize. And that it was just like this constant kind of like influx of information, energy, awareness, all those things. And I like had pushed it so far out of my world as like to even notice that that was happening, to make myself normal. And I was kind of successful at it in a way. Like I went to an Ivy League college. I got a master's degree. Like I did all the like, sort of like the things that make you quote unquote successful in this world. I was able to somehow navigate that, but I didn't navigate it from my strengths and my capacities. I navigated it more from force and like the pressure to push against myself, um, rather than the relaxation into what I know and what I be and what I can use as my capacities. And so it was a lot of work, and I had to like bend, fold, staple, and mutilate myself, and like twist myself into knots to try to manage all of that, handle all of that, and get her done, But I did, because I was smart. I am smart, and I was capable, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And it's not easy. That was my point of view. It was like Ivy League college, not going to be easy, and I was aware of everybody else's universe. And so, I struggled quite a bit, especially when I went to college. My first year really struggled because I had no idea, what was going on in my own world. And I was so aware, and had so much information from everybody else around me, the people that I lived with in my dorm, like everybody in all of my classes. And we're just, as a neurodivergent, you're just downloading. We are like downloading big swaths of energetic information all the time. And it's way too fast to be cognitive. And actually, I mean, I just want to say, like, that's a lot of my content, my podcasts, my videos, my whatever I put out there in the world. A lot of it is energetic. So I'm saying things, I'm delivering some concepts and ideas and things like that. But a lot of what comes through in these formats is way more of an energetic download. So, but when we're not relaxed, when we're doing this like pressure to push against ourselves and push against the world and push creation into existence, we're not in allowance of ourselves. We're not in the receiving that is actually a capacity for the neurodivergent, the X-Men of the world. We cannot relax into the gifts that we be and have. And instead we have to like constantly be overriding our natural talents and capacities to be able to like function in the world. And some people have an easier time doing that than others, but it's not easy for X-Men to do that. So we have to like sequester and hide and tuck away all these parts of ourselves that would otherwise make it difficult to function in the world. And that's what medication does, and that's what diagnoses do. And when I was a therapist and a social worker, I actually never studied it's called the DSM, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. I never studied the DSM. I never wanted to. It was sort of, kind of a crazy choice in graduate school to not take that class. Luckily, I didn't have to, because I had no interest in the wrongness. I mean, I even knew at that point, and this was way before I knew about X-Men. I was, 25 or so, and I never wanted to know. I never wanted to learn how to label people or study the wrongness of people. I wanted to look at the rightness and look at the gifts and the capacities, and the strengths, and have empowering conversations rather than you're wrong, you fit into this box, let's medicate you in this way, or let's work, even let's work with you in this way. Cause I wasn't medicating people, but let's work with you in this way. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to go, who are you? What do you know? What are your capacities? And excuse me. Part of it was, Part of it was diving into the body, movement, somatic psychotherapy, working with trauma. That was a huge part of, for me, my journey. And I won't talk as much about that in this particular podcast, but part of it was, yeah, just having that, like starting to really see the body as a resource, and having this curiosity around, what do our bodies know and what are our bodies constantly telling us? And with ADHD, especially, there's a lot of information that our bodies give us, because we actually, like with ADHD, your body is dynamic. It needs to move. And I just made a video. I'm not sure when we'll post it, but keep an eye out on my YouTube channel. I made a video about that, and I like took people on a little tour. Like, I have this whole scene here in my living room, which is sort of like my winter office, because I like to sit in front of my fireplace. That is just like, like all these like body things. And I'm too like set up in my setup now to move the computer around and show you, but I've got, like all these portable desks and yoga blocks and yoga bolsters, and I don't use anything how it's intended to be used. I have a rolling pin here to roll out my fascia. Like, I just like all these different things. And sometimes I'll be doing that while I'm like, facilitating or whatever on my legs. So it's just like, it's just so different. But I'm like always listening to my body. And instead of seeing it as a nuisance, which is like, if you look at medication and ADHD, it's seen as, I have to turn on my fire. Speaking of, with ADHD, it's like, this need to move is like a very dynamic movement of energy and a speed that that people be, and their bodies be, that actually can really dynamically inform creation and inform your creative process, if you're not trying to manage it and bring in that pressure to push against it, to reject it, to manage it, to handle it, to suppress it. Instead of that, it's like going, hey, what is this? What is the capacity here that I have, that my body is showing me, for speed, for movement, for creation, for, dynamic, alive, vital living, that I can actually choose to be. And in order to choose that, you have to be different. You have to be willing to be different. You are different. If you're listening to this, you're still here, you're different. Because a lot of people would be like, this lady's crazy. No, thank you. But that's not my audience. So that's not who I'm speaking to. I'm speaking to those of you that are looking for something different. And also just like permission to be, I'm not really interested in like creating a very like polished, you might have noticed, like I don't, I've done podcasts in my jungle in Mexico and, different places and kind of all over the place. The only reason I'm here right now is because my fire is here and it's winter. Like, I like to sit in front of the fire in the wintertime. So this is my place in the winter. But it's not, I'm not interested in like looking fake, I'm not fake. I'm real. I have a body. My body has urges. My body has a lot of wisdom. And I like to speak to people that are interested in that, and because when you have ADHD, neurodivergent tendencies, capacity, functionality, use it to your advantage. If you're fighting against that, you're fighting against you. And when you're fighting against you, it's never going to work. You're never going to be happy. You're never going to be productive. You're never going to be as creative as you can be. You won't actually create the income, the business, the life, the living, the reality that you can create. You are you for a reason. You have, however you are, however messed up you might think you are, what if you're not? What if you're just different? And you can start to get curious about that and use it to your generative and creative advantage. And so with that, one of the biggest things for me is when I really started to get into allowance of me. I remember a long time ago, it was, gosh, almost 10 years ago. It was the very first Maestro class in Access Consciousness. That is an amazing class that happens every year with Dr. Dane here. It's a very advanced, the most advanced class that we have in Access Consciousness, has a lot of prerequisites, and it was the very first one. Nobody knew what it was. It was just this like energetic exploration, and really very much an exploration of being different. And I got to the microphone. I wanted to ask a question, and I was just like, there was so much going on in my world. I couldn't even, what I had to do is I had to like slow it way down. I had to just like use that pressure to push against myself, to push against my awareness, to slow everything down, to try to make sense of it all, but that was a dynamic misuse of my potency. And it was so funny because everybody in the room was like, oh my God, like it was like painful to everybody in the room. Because I was slowing down the whole room. I was slowing down everything. And Dane said to me, you've got, like, I was like, how do I even be with all of this stuff that's going on? Like, I have so much happening in my awareness and my brain energetically. I can't even talk sometimes, And Dane said to me, you've got to get into allowance of you. And so that was the moment where I started to really, really choose that. And what does that mean to get into allowance of us? It means to not judge you. It means to be like, oh my God, there's so much going on. And how did I get so lucky to have all this stuff going on? How cool am I? How amazing is this body of mine that just like needs to move around all the time, and needs things to change all the time, and is always showing me different, change, now, speed, And so that was the beginning of that exploration for me. And as I started to play, I mean, I still play with that all the time. Like I don't have total allowance of me and my body, like, but I choose more of it every day. And I love to play on that X-Men playground where everything is the opposite of what it appears to be. Nothing is the opposite of what it appears to be. And you can look at, like, for me, one of the main elements of that X-Men neurodivergent playground is to actually to begin to like to see that everything that you think is wrong about you. I mean, we always say your wrongness is your strongness, right? So to see that everything that you think is wrong about you is actually a gift, a capacity, and an awareness that you have about how to navigate the world, move in the world in a very different way, and create from a very different space. And that is, to me, that's evolution. And that's part of what we be as X-Men, as the neurodiverse of the world, is an evolutionary possibility, as do our bodies. And so, and it's all connected. And so with that, like, that diversity, that, sense of like, of such a different way of functioning, it does require a lot of courage, because the world will make you wrong for it. The world will be like, hey, you need to be like us. Like, you need to just sit at your office desk and like, shut the fuck up, But I'm like, no, that's not actually going to work for me. And I never even tried it, because I never had a job. I never really had a job. I had a job for 9 months when I graduated from grad school. And I was like, oh my God, no. So I became a psychotherapist and, did the somatic stuff that I was doing right out of the gate. I just started a private practice. I was like, okay, I'm just going to start. And I did. And that was the beginning. And that was the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. And I was, I think I was 28 at the time. So that was 25 years ago. Wow, I can't even believe that. That's crazy. It feels like it's been just like yesterday. But I am reverse aging. So, but that's a story for another time. So anyway, I digress. ADHD, we're all good friends here, right? So I just was like, I can't do that whole thing, so I'm not going to. So I'm just going to have to figure out how to do it in a different way, and in a way that works for me, in a way that, is fun for me. And so that was the beginning. I just basically like followed the energy and, made myself wrong a lot along the way. Had a lot of moments of really trying to get out of the wrongness of me. Or even, I didn't even know I was doing that for a long time until I found the tools of access consciousness. It was more like I was looking for the solution to the problem of me, and how I functioned and how I couldn't seem to get it right in the world. And part of it for me was just like not succeeding at my business in the way that I knew that I could. And, that is always a thing, I have to say. Like, I never feel, I know there are people in the world that see me as very successful. And honestly, I don't see myself that way. And I say that because, not to like judge myself, because I say that because, like, I just want to be real, we have all these projections of people, and people show up in a certain way, and you like, you think things and you project things about them. And it's like, for me, it's just like getting into greater allowance of me every day as the difference that I be. And my commitment is to use that, just to be it, to use it, to explore it, to lean into it, to let my body show me what it knows about that, to be weird and different more and more and more all the time. And I'm so grateful for Gary Douglas and Dane Here and Simone Milasas, who are kind of at the helm with the access consciousness stuff, and Simone with Joy of Business, and because they are really willing to be different, and they show me that can be, that you can dynamically succeed in this world, business, money, all those things, when you're willing to be that different. But it is in a lot of ways, it's kind of a solo journey. You can have great people around you and ask for more all the time, but it is a journey of you exploring like the inner beautiful workings and energetics and capacities of your unique world. And your unique world is truly unique. It doesn't exist anywhere else on the planet. Nobody else has it. Nobody else bees it. What you be. And it's different, and nobody can tell you what's true for you. Nobody can show you what's true for you. You can be curious about it and find out through your own exploration. And again, the beginning of that is allowance. Like, so really, really, really getting into, okay, I'm not wrong. This way of functioning in a different way, it's not wrong. What's right about me that I'm not getting? What do I know is possible with creation, with business, with creating a different future that I am not getting, that I haven't acknowledged, that I haven't chosen, that I haven't explored yet? Lowering your barriers to you, getting vulnerable with you, having the elements of intimacy with you. And in that, it's not a slowing down. It's an increasing of the space that you be. The energetic, spacious potency that you be. And when you melt your barriers to you, you get into vulnerability with you. So the elements of intimacy, vulnerability, allowance, gratitude, honoring, and trust. Those are some of my absolute go-to tools. And I will, I'm sure, do some stuff around those in the future. But truly, my go-to tools for creation. Energetic, sort of like energetic invitation, shall I say, for me to be with me always, is because if I'm vulnerable with me, I don't have barriers. I'm in allowance. I'm in the curiosity of what the hell am I that doesn't exist on this planet other than me? What the hell are you that doesn't exist on this planet other than you? What do you know about what is possible in the future for the future? And people that are neurologically diverse, X-Men, neurodivergent, whatever you want to call it, different, know something about the future. There's a capacity there for the creation of a greater future that is very, very potent. And we don't always, we often don't realize that, and what can happen is you have this awareness of the future that you sort of ignore, or you like it, we twist it in all these ways and we make it wrong. But as we do that, we, eliminate ourselves, we eliminate our awareness, and, we're not in allowance, we're not in the vulnerability and the trust and the honoring and the gratitude for all that we be. And so, the keys to the kingdom of the creative possibility of ADHD, ADD, OCD, autistic, neurodiverse, X-Men universe with creation, with business, is really to melt every day more and more and more into you. And as you do, you will start to be willing to truly explore the universe of what you know as a possibility. You'll start to have the courage to look at that. You will start to have the awareness as you melt into you, the vulnerability, the allowance, the honoring, the trust. You'll start to have the awareness of things that you could choose, possibilities that you could create that nobody else has. And that sets you up. That is your absolute generative and creative advantage in business. I always say, you have a monopoly on you. Whatever it is that you do, you have a monopoly. You have a monopoly. Nobody else is you. So what it is that you do, what it is that you bring, nobody can compete with that. Why would you even want to go there? It's like you explore that universe, those universes, and so much begins to open up. And this is truly where you begin to constantly open doors with your choices and your awareness to a completely different universe of creation. And I will say that this is where innovation lies. This is the seat of innovation, of true innovation. And innovation is absolutely one of the greatest assets that any business has, in a way. That's kind of, so let me just expand on that. When a business, whether it's a solopreneurship, it's just you doing your thing, or, you have a team or whatever, if you can innovate successfully, dynamically, if you can innovate, you will be on the creative edge of your industry. And the way that you innovate is by getting into the uniqueness of you, which comes from the vulnerability, the allowance, the honoring, the gratitude, the trust. And as you and anybody else on your team, does that, has that, you when you have it with you, you can start to have that with other people as well. And then the creative playground actually is really cool. Like there's a lot of juiciness to it. That is the beginning of a far greater future, greater possibility. You basically set yourself up to be on the creative edge, like I said, of your industry, what it is that you do. And that's where the success in your business really, really comes, this like worldly success, financial flows, changing the world, changing the future, that kind of thing comes from that space. So to be continued. Like, I just created about 50,000 new podcast topics in this one. So I got to just, I don't need to remember it. I know, I do trust that whatever wants to be created and, come through me it will. So I don't need to, grip around it. But I'll be back. I'll be back next week. We'll see where we are next week. So thank you so much, everybody. Yeah. What if you are really not as fucked up as you think you are? What if you're not fucked up at all and you have the capacity to create something so different in the world? Bring it on, fellow neurodivergent X-Men creature. Bring it on, because the world requires something different for sure, a different way of being. And I'm grateful for you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Thank you for joining me for the Entrepreneurial Biome podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. For more resources, check out my website at heathernichols.com and my social media channels as well. Have a beautiful day, and remember that your business thrives when you do.